Today, we will be reviewing the moral principles of the Army ethic and their connection to our distinctive roles as trusted Army professionals, as well as Army values. Remember that there are three distinctive roles of trusted Army professionals. 1. Honorable servants of the nation, professionals of character. 2. Army experts, competent professionals. And 3. Stewards of the Army profession, committed professionals. In our role as honorable servants of the nation, we are professionals of character. There are 4 moral principles associated with being an honorable servant. The first of these reflects the Army values of selfless service, honor, and loyalty. Do you see other Army values in this moral principle? Which Army values do you see in the next moral principle? I see clear reflections of honor, selfless service, and integrity. Do you see others? The Army value reflected in the third moral principle is straightforward. The moral principle is talking about the value of respect, recognizing the dignity and worth of all people and treating them with respect. Which of the Army values do you see embedded in this moral principle? We demonstrate courage by doing what is right despite risk, uncertainty, and fear. This moral principle reflects the Army value of personal courage. You know the right thing to do, but can you persevere when the going gets tough? Or you have to intervene despite the interests or pressures of other people? In our role as Army experts, we are competent professionals. There are 3 moral principles associated with being an Army expert. Look at the first moral principle to see its connections with one or more Army values. With words like duty and putting the needs of others above our own, this moral principle relates to the Army values of duty and selfless service. Which Army values do you think tie into the next moral principle? The words accomplish the mission and courageously would connect this moral principle to the Army values of duty and personal courage. This moral principle discusses our responsibility to pursue lifelong learning and has the phrase, advance the expertise of our chosen profession, which would connect this moral principle to the Army value of duty. Now let's look at the last set of moral principles. In our role as stewards of the Army profession, we are committed professionals. There are 3 moral principles associated with being a steward of the profession. The first moral principle talks specifically about upholding the Army values and being accountable. Which Army values would connect to this moral principle? I see honor and duty reflected in this moral principle. The second moral principle discusses the wise use of resources and includes caring for soldiers, Army civilians, and families. Which Army value or values do you think is related to this moral principle? I think this moral principle is related to the Army values of duty and selfless service because it is your duty to wisely use resources and you are putting the welfare of others above your own. Do you see any others? The last moral principle contains the phrases Army profession and American people. Which Army value or values do you see in this moral principle? This moral principle is also related to the Army values of duty and selfless service because it concerns your duty to put the welfare of the Army profession above your own to build trust. It's important to understand that the Army ethic doesn't replace our Army values. It's a more complete expression of the moral principles that are based on our laws, values, and shared beliefs. There are meaningful connections between our distinctive roles, moral principles, and values that all strengthen our identity as trusted Army professionals. By living and upholding the Army ethic in the performance of duty and all aspects of life, we demonstrate the character, competence, and commitment expected of soldiers and Army civilians.